I'm sure that we'll have more people joining us as time goes by. I want to start off today with a thank you to our faculty, staff, and students for being able to hang in there through this amazing time. As you've heard me say in prior student town halls, if you've been with me before, this represents an unprecedented time here in the United States and in the world for that matter. We've never faced a healthcare challenge of this magnitude, and it's never changed our method of delivering higher education in the way it has over this past year practically. I want to commend the students in particular for what they achieved this prior year. For those that aren't aware, this last academic year, we gave out more student awards than ever before. 1,730 students received some form of award. Of those, we had 1,748 certificates and 840 degrees awarded. That represents a 53% increase in awards over a 3-year period. It represents specifically a 65% increase in the number of certificates earned, a 31% increase in the number of degrees, and actually 28% more students than prior years actually earned awards. Of those awards, we also, a part of that was 463 transfer degrees, and it indicates that our transfer program, transferring students to institutions of higher learning or senior institutions, has increased by about 37% over the same 3-year period, or roughly 12% per year. Now, if you think about those numbers in light of the pandemic, think about the fact that we helped students achieve their educational goals at a higher rate than ever before. So, not really certain why that was. We don't have any particular research as to how students were able to achieve such good numbers in such bad times, but I think it really talks about how our faculty, our staff, and students came together in the unusual times of last spring to create good outcomes. And I hope that same thing is happening this year. I hope you're having good experiences in your various classes. We have roughly 10% of our students back on campus taking skill-based classes of some kind. And as we look to the future, as we look to next semester, we hope that the good news that we heard just yesterday, that already one company has been given emergency authorization to distribute the first vaccine to treat COVID-19. We hope that there'll be more of that type of good news being released over the next several months, and that hopefully sometime in spring we'll start to see us being able to beat back this disease and reopen in a far more normal fashion. But you'll be hearing more about that as we go through our program this afternoon. I will say that in terms of where we are right now, many of the presidents of colleges here in the Central Valley have been meeting over the past couple of months to discuss athletic competitions for spring. We still don't have a decision on how that will look. We are looking at what the state government has given us in the way of what's called guidance for higher education, and specifically in those areas of athletics and athletic competition. And we are now able to visualize what that might represent for all of our students. We will be required to offer testing if we get into athletic competition. We'll certainly want to have quite a bit more structure than we currently have on campus. The unfortunate part about testing and related what we call contact tracing represents an additional expense to colleges across the state and across the country actually to do that. So we're actually going to delay our decision on athletic competition until probably halfway through December. We're waiting for things to develop as the government, federal government changes over to new leadership, and we're going to wait and see what comes of the potential for additional financial support from both the federal and state governments during these difficult times. I'm certainly not ruling out athletic competition. In fact, I'm going to find every opportunity working with our athletic director and our coaches to find ways to implement some form of competition for spring. And we certainly have guidance from our local league as to how to do that. So there'll be more information to come. We'll certainly have more information by the time we have our December 10th student town hall. We're actually inviting everyone to attend that particular event to hear our last update for the fall semester as we break for the holidays. So please come back then for additional information. I also want to talk to you today about Giving Tuesday. This is an annual event. It's a fundraising event, December 3rd of each year, where we basically gather money for specific fundraising needs. And this year, Reedley College and actually all of the colleges in the State Center District have identified student basic needs as our funding target, our funding objective or theme, if you will. We're looking to expand and enhance our Tiger Pantry, and something that has been offered in the past, our Clyde's Closet, which is basically access to clothing, especially during the winter months. And in particular, we want to combine this fundraising activity with a very generous gift that came to the California Community Colleges this last month in the form of a $100 million grant to our System Foundation. That was through the Hyatt Corporation, or actually the family that owns the Hyatt Corporation, and it's a 20-year promise of funding. And what it means to Reedley College is that we'll be getting about $150,000 a year for distribution to students to help them complete their programs of study, and for emergency grants in case something becomes a barrier to you in your program of study. So we can hear more about that from our Director of Financial Aid, Chris Cortez, and our Vice President of Administrative Services, Melanie Heifel, in just a few minutes. But this is an opportunity this year to, again, raise additional funds through our community to help enhance the footprint, if you will, of our Tiger Pantry on campus. We're talking about moving it to a new location. We're talking about creating more of a market kind of environment for students to participate in. And we'd appreciate your feedback as students as to what you feel your needs are. But please understand that I personally and the rest of this campus will be working hard to basically fundraise to enhance those basic needs and services that support them. We've already received $7,500 in contributions so far, and we haven't even gotten to Giving Tuesday yet. My goal is to find additional funders in the community that will help build up that range of contribution so we can actually have matching gifts on Giving Tuesday. Now, everything that we do on campus right now is governed by our current health statistics, our public health statistics. And you may be aware of the fact that the state of California has a 4-tier monitoring system in place. And for a good many months, Fresno County was in the purple or first tier. Recently, it was allowed to move into the red tier because our rate of infection dropped significantly. The unfortunate news is that it looks as if we may be going back up into the purple tier next week, depending upon our rates of infection. For more information on that, I'd like to turn the conversation over to Kelly Magura, who is our campus nurse and coordinator of student health here at Reedley College. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Yes, so hi, for those who don't know me, I'm the college nurse on campus. I've probably spoken to a lot of you on my telehealth appointments that we've been doing lately. And hopefully when we are able to get back on campus, I'll be seeing you more face to face. For those students who are attending classes on campus, or for those athletes who are conditioning on site, and for those who are living on site, I just want to remind everyone of the COVID policy, the campus policy that we are all abiding by. First of all, if you're coming to campus, please make sure you complete the online health screen. It's found on the Reedley College website. It prompts you for a few questions, and I really encourage students and staff to, it's available for both anyone on campus, so students and staff, but the students, the responses do come back to me. So even if you're not feeling well, I do encourage you to complete that survey. That way I can get direct feedback from you and get in contact with you quicker. I know there's some students who possibly, you know, aren't feeling good, so they email their instructor, and then the instructor emails me, and then I email the student, and then we kind of go around this little email chain for a while. but do use that online health screen. That's what it's for, to provide more information so I can get in touch with you if there are any questions or any health concerns that you may have. Secondly, we want to make sure everyone's wearing masks on campus, of course. Social distancing, keep your distance when you come onto campus, and then making sure you're clean surfaces that you touch and washing your hands thoroughly. Those are the main guidelines that we're all following that are kind of becoming our habitual routine these days. I am available on campus for in-person appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you have a health concern or a question, feel free to schedule an appointment by calling the office or emailing me. I'm doing a lot of telehealth visits as well. It's whatever's convenient for you. Like I said, I'm on campus in person, but also telehealth. If you're feeling really sick or ill, I really would rather you not come to campus so we could do something over the phone. I also wanted to remind students and staff, for that matter, that we have free flu vaccines for all members of our Reedley College team. So anyone who's interested in getting a flu shot, feel free to give me a call. We'll schedule an appointment and we can get that taken care of rather quickly. I have plenty of flu vaccines available, so I'm really hoping we get everyone who needs to be vaccinated, get them on into the health office to get covered. And then lastly, United Health Centers is doing a free COVID testing drive up. I'm going to go to my email really quick just to get the dates. I know one of the dates was December 1st, which is on a Tuesday from 2 to 5 p.m. They'll be on campus in one of the parking lots, I believe. Let me look and see which exact parking lot it is. So there's 2 dates, November 10th, which is today. They're doing it today from 2 to 5. So if anyone wants to have a test done, they're doing free testing today. And the next testing date is December 1st on campus from 2 to 5 p.m. And let me just double check and see. This is scheduled in parking lot D. So that is available for all students and staff who are interested in getting a free COVID-19 test. And I think that's all I have, Dr. Buckley. Anything else you'd like me to talk about?
Well, maybe just talk a little bit about our county status. Do you have any information currently on?
So we should be, let's see, today's Tuesday. I have a school update meeting today at 3 o'clock. It coincided with this one. So I'll have to get back on with them and double check, but it did sound like our numbers have been increasing. As of last week at this time, we are still in the red, but they were projecting some increases by this week. And if you give me a few minutes, I can jump on the website and see if they've updated it, and you can circle back to me if that's okay.
Sure, will do.
All right.
I think to basically give a summary, the tiers are important to this college and to our district because it allows us to have the lower the tier, the higher the number actually, the more we can do on a face-to-face basis. So that's true for things like restaurants and our other services in the county as well. So when you go back to purple, you go to the number 1 tier, things tend to be more closed down. So we're hoping to have lower rates of infection and therefore have more freedom to do things that we like to do. And I just want to compliment all of our students and our faculty and staff for basically following these simple practices of wearing a face covering, social distancing, and as Kelly said, the issue of good hygiene, sanitizing our workspaces and whatnot. Because we've been very consistent with those practices, this college is at a very, very low rate of infection amongst its faculty, staff, and students, and really no infections in our classroom environment at all, thanks to our good practice. So thank you all for what you've been doing. Kelly, do you have your numbers, or what, shall we come back to you later? No pressure.
You're muted, Kelly.
There we go. Yeah, I do have the Fresno County dashboard up, but let me just get the actual statistics and I will be back in just a few.
Okay, sounds good. All right, next on our list, we're going to hear an update on our funding for student support and student awards. And for this, we'll go to Chris Cortez.
Hi, everybody. This is Chris from Financial Aid. So an update on our CARES funding. Back in April in the spring semester, we got $2.1 million for student aid, for direct to student aid. We helped just under 7,000 students during the spring semester in May, June, and July. And we gave out emergency grants from it ranging from $100 to $600. We had about $200,000 of that money left over, which we gave out this fall. And we have about 10% left. So I got about $20,000 left. But we gave grants to students for the fall that were our Pell Grant students that were enrolled at least half time and had the highest unmet need. So pretty much just our neediest students for the fall. Unfortunately, we weren't able to give every single student enrolled for the fall a grant, but right now we do have an emergency grant application available. And it's a combination of funds from our foundation, funds from the CARES money, and also from California College Promise Funds. And students can go apply for an emergency grant if they've had any financial impact from either COVID or from the Creek fires. The application's available on our websites, on the financial aid website, on the coronavirus website, and then also on the Creek fires resource page. So that application is still active right now, and I do still have money available. So please share with other students who've been affected, and they can fill out an application. The grants are anywhere from $300 to $1,000.
Thanks, Chris. For those of you who don't know Chris, she's our director of financial aid. She and the other directors across our district have been doing some incredible work with this infusion of additional funding for students. And it's not only in the form of financial aid, it's also in the form of the ability for us to buy technology and distribute technology. And for some of that, and also for a summary of the new funding that's coming to us through this new Hyatt gift, I'd like to turn to our Vice President of Administrative Services, Melanie Hyphen.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. So just real quick on our the other half of our federal CARES money that we are able to buy technology for students, MiFis. Thought I had my right report up, but I did not bring it up. But anyway, we have spent almost $800,000 buying laptops, paying for MiFis and 12 months worth of internet service for that. And that also includes any headphones, any anything that goes along with the technology package that we have spent. We are also dedicating, I want to say, close to $300,000 to upgrade all of our Wi-Fi across campus. So that way we have better Wi-Fi in the parking lots. We have better Wi-Fi like right outside the bookstore, at the tables, anywhere that students can sit. We are working on upgrading our Wi-Fi system. So Dan Demers and his staff is working on that. The other thing that Dr. Buckley briefly talked about was the Finish Line Scholars Program. And so that is the grant that was given by the Hyatt Regency Corporation to the California Community Colleges Foundation. We are one of 34 colleges that have been selected over 20 years to receive $150,000 a year for 20 years. In year one, which they're considering year one, January 1st through June 30th. In year one, the first $150,000 will be done as emergency aid to students. And so we, myself, Renee Craig Marius, and a couple of others will be forming a task force and bringing in students to talk about how we would like to distribute this, what the application looks like, and some criteria in year one. In year two, and so years 2 through 20, it's split to where we do $120,000 in scholarships, and we can give up to $18,500 a year in scholarships per person. And then we can have $30,000 for emergency aid. So again, we will need to look at what the scholarship application looks like, what limits we want to place, because we as a college can determine how much the scholarships can be, so we can help as many students as we can. And so we will be reaching out and getting all of that out to everyone. So it is great news for us. And just so everybody knows, Clovis Community College, Fresno City College, and Madera College were also chosen. So State Center, all 4 of our colleges are part of the 34.
Thanks very much, Melanie. This is great news, and it just adds to our efforts as a college and a district to help remove barriers to higher education for our students and our families. It's interesting that another aspect of that is our implementation of what we call guided pathways. And if you think about the fact that this fall, for the first time, we gave a general orientation to guided pathways and also a pathways orientation for students that were incoming into the college for the first time. So I'm going to introduce Renee Craig Marius, who's our Vice President of Student Services. And she may want to talk a little bit about that, but in particular, I'd also like to hear what else she has to share with us about commencement and other activities that are very important to our students. Renee?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll talk a little bit about commencement and the concept that we are thinking about for the 2021 commencement, which is great. This is great news. There's light at the end of the tunnel, a celebration to be had after all of your hard work. But after I talk about that, I'm going to probably tag Kurt Pylon and others to talk a little bit about what the plans are for the spring for Tiger Preview and Tiger Connect. But as you know, we have really been working hard to engage and connect you with your pathway, the academic pathways, and the teams that are there to support you in that pathway, whether it's STEM or whether it is social sciences and so forth. And so one of the things that we've wanted to do for a long time as we rolled out guided pathways was to eventually host a commencement that is based off of the pathway, similar to what you might have seen others when they go through graduation through like the state universities, where you have the School of STEM or the School of Social Sciences, and you have faculty walking in from that school or that academic pathway, and you have students walking in behind them. That whole concept of that connection to your pathway and that community that's built is what we want to create for our commencement. Unfortunately, last year we were not able to do what we would have liked to have done, and that was to have an in-person commencement. And we really listened to students in terms of what their input was about how that worked, how it didn't, what they would like to see differently. And so our commencement committee has been coming together to have a lot of conversation around what this could look like for 2021. And so we've had student voice in that. Thank you, Stephen and Geraldo, with regards to your input on that. And we really heard students say, we want something, if all possible, in person and not virtual. And so what we're going to do our best in meeting, following health and safety guidelines at the time, is to really see if we can do something that will allow students to come on campus with their family in a scheduled format, and it may happen over several days, but to do that in a way, and possibly we're thinking about doing this in the gym, and actually create a stage, have that out there, have an opportunity for the student to come in with their family on a scheduled time, walk across that stage, and it will be by pathways, walk across that stage and get that degree or certificate, have a photo shoot, have it videotaped, and be able to celebrate that. So we're working really hard to think through those options, looking at both the advantages and disadvantages of that, but we're working really hard to make sure that we create an experience that is meaningful for students and their families, because many students and families, you know, this is the first in college to graduate, right? And it's meaningful, it's really, really important. So we're working on that. And again, more to come on this. We're fleshing it out, but that's the concept right now. We think it will be the week, of course, where commencement would normally be. That would be the week of May 17th through the 21st. We know it'll probably take several different sessions to get all the students through, but that's okay. We'll work on that and schedule that. And as soon as we have something kind of finalized, we will have something on our website for students to RSVP and understand a little bit more of what that might look like. Again, if you have suggestions, ideas about what would make it meaningful, I really encourage you to reach out to your ASG reps. Stephen's on the call here, Geraldo's on the call. Please reach out to them so they can bring that input back to the committee. So I think that's great news. I think it's a great way we can meet both needs in terms of health and safety guidelines, but also make it meaningful for our students to actually experience what it means to walk across the stage and receive your degree or certificate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt Hyland, who can talk to you a little bit about what our activities are going to be for the spring for our entry new students, but also for all of you continuing students to connect you with your pathways.
Thank you, Renee. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Can somebody give me a thumbs up? Thank you. Okay, perfect. So as she mentioned and Dr. Buckley had mentioned, we did a Tiger preview event prior to the fall semester. And what we did is really focus on getting students ready for the fall mentally and technology focused and really helping them find some strategies and identify some ways that they can be successful for the fall. And what we did at that point is we advertised the pathway orientations. And so pathways is what we're really focusing on, getting students connected with their pathways and their success teams. And so we're going to continue that into the spring. We're going to have another Tiger preview event for the spring semester, opportunity just to get together with students to help you be mindful of the spring and what it takes to be successful in the online environment. We're also going to be promoting participation in the Pathway Canvas pages. We have some Pathway navigators here. If you guys have video on, come on, navigators wave. A couple of you are on. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks guys for being here. But we're going to get our new students connected with our Pathway navigators. That's a big thing we're going to be doing. All of our pathways are doing, we're calling it Pathway Connect events because we're connecting them with these resources, with these teams. And so we're wanting to be really intentional of how we interface or how we onboard students into our guided pathways. And so I checked with IR this morning, actually. We have 90 students brand new to the spring. So those are students that never had taken any classes with Readly. So that's great. And I'm anticipating that number to increase. We had open registration this past Friday that started. So prior to the end of the semester, I'll get a list and we'll definitely do some follow-up and some promotion to help just welcome our new students in and help them understand what the culture of Pathways have for them here at Readly College. We'll invite our current students to participate as well. ASG was a big help. Stephen was a big help with that. Raina was a big help. Gerardo was a big help with us in the fall. We're going to continue that into the spring and just kind of have that as an ongoing thing for our students is, as they come in, they're going to be welcomed, even if it's virtual. We're going to engage with our students. We're going to connect with our students. And then we're going to get them into that pathway that's going to help them throughout their entire journey at Readly College to get to that successful endpoint.
Very good. Thank you, Kurt. Renee, any other thoughts?
Yep, I think that's it.
Very good. Kelly, did you find the numbers you were looking for?
I did. So it looks like we are still in the red as of today, guys. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep following those guidelines. It looks like the positivity rate is holding steady at 5.5, and we want that below 8 to stay in the red and below 5 to go down into the orange. So we are just in the low side of that red tier. So the positivity rate is in the red still, and then the new cases has gone up into the purple, but because our new case positivity rate is still red, we're still considered in the red. They both need to go up to the purple to move up a tier. So we're currently holding steady in red, and we'll see what next week brings. But continue those good hand hygiene and wearing those masks and avoiding sick people and staying home if you're sick.
Thank you, Kelly. I can't stress that enough as we approach the holidays. It's very important that we remember that we need to keep that social distancing in place, even around our family members. If we have a family gathering, it's actually proven to be one of those highest risk events. Believe it or not, as I said at one of my prior town halls, marriages and funerals are where people get the sickest, unfortunately. So keep that in mind when we get together for those important holiday dinners. Try to keep distance if you can at all. So Now we're going to move on to our next topic, enrollment opportunities. For this, I'm going to introduce Dale Van Dam, our Vice President of Instruction. Dale?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'll talk about enrollment in 1 second. I wanted to make everyone aware that we are slowly bringing back some functions on campus, right? Being very mindful of health and safety, of course, but also we're anxious to get campus opened up. We're anxious to return to whatever normal operations are going to look like. We miss the students on campus. One of the things, we're doing some things already this semester. One of those is having a computer lab open on campus. It's located in you can envision this southeast corner of the library. It's the location of the former open computer lab, if you ever utilize that. And it's open basically from Monday to Thursday, 10 to 4. I put the hours into the chat there so you can take a look at that. So it's an opportunity to come in, use the machines. You can also, it's staffed by tutors. You can also phone ahead to the General Tutoring Center and see if the tutor in the area you need is going to be available. But just be aware, you can come in. You don't have to sit in your car or sit outside as it's getting a little chillier. You can work inside if you need access to the internet, and there should be plenty of stations there for you as we approach finals and the wrap up of fall classes. So be sure you know about that. As I mentioned, for spring, we are looking at every opportunity we can to bring the students back on campus. That it's a balance because we want to resume normal operations, but we also want to be protective of student health, faculty and staff health. We don't want a big setback. We want to keep making steady progress. And so to that end, as we get toward the end of the spring semester, the later parts of the spring semester, we're looking at having a menu of classes that will start after our January start date. So we may have some late January start classes, some February start classes, some March start classes. So these would be a little bit shorter, a little bit more compressed, right? The information will be a little compressed, but it might give many of our students a chance to start, if they're not quite ready in early January. It takes a little longer to get the financial aid packages together. Whatever it is, you have another opportunity to start a little bit later in the semester. So be on the lookout for that. And we're already, believe it or not, we're already talking about what our summer and fall semesters are going to look like. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the progress of the virus. It depends on the progress of the vaccine. It depends on whether we can get the positivity rate under control across the country, but especially here in Fresno County. But again, top of our mind is how can we bring students, functions, gatherings back on campus, athletics back on campus as it makes sense, as it is protective of health and safety. But watch for changes in our status. And as soon as we feel safe in doing so, we'll bring folks back on campus. I wanted to show you one thing, Dr. Buckley, if you wouldn't mind if I could share my screen real quick, just for a moment.
Mm-hmm. You should be able to.
Yeah, you guys seeing that okay? Yeah, okay. So this is should be familiar. This is our homepage, college homepage. And if you click on this button here, it'll take you to, oh, I'm already there, okay. So it'll take you to the spring semester page, and you can easily navigate to a class search. Now, of course, when you register, you use an application called Web Advisor. And I don't know, you guys are probably more familiar with it than I am. But it can be a little confusing sometimes to decode the class listings. So that's still your primary source for class information, but you can also use this open class list spring 2021 and type in a topic here, class you may have found on WebAdvisor. You may be a little bit confused about, well, I don't understand the listing in WebAdvisor. There's a little more information here about whether the class is online and asynchronous. And if you're not sure about what asynchronous means, here's the definition right here. Or if it's a synchronous class, that'll be listed and you can find the definition right here. So the idea is that you can use this class search tool to help inform what you're finding on WebAdvisor. You can't register here, but again, there's a little bit more information and a little bit plainer English about your course listings that you might see in WebAdvisor. So if you're confused about what you're seeing in WebAdvisor, kind of take that information from WebAdvisor. You can go to this search function and find out more about the class. So I think that's all I've got for now, Dr. Buckley.
Very good. Thank you, Dale. I'd like to turn to Dr. Morgan to address the comments he's placed in the chat session. Dr. Morgan?
Thank you, Dr. Buckley. Just some new things going on with DSPNS. We were fortunate enough to have both our grant programs renewed, and they will continue on for another grant cycle. That's our Workability 3 grant and our SSS grant. So we'll continue to be able to serve our students in that capacity. Our DSPNS Workability 3 program is in the process of hiring a new Workability 3 counselor. So we have a counselor coordinator, Melissa Alfalt, but she'll be also able to hire a counselor, Workability 3 counselor, that will be able to provide additional support and assistance to our students. And so the position closed, I believe, yesterday, November 9th, and we'll be interviewing and hiring for that position to begin in January. So that's something for our students to look forward to. We also have an interim or temporary DSPNS counselor coordinator position. Samara Trimble has been reassigned, and we now have Janelle Brazil, who was previously an adjunct counselor, now working as our temporary counselor coordinator. And she'll be in that position until June 30th of 2021. For spring, we plan to still operate remotely, as our president has stated. Unless there's any changes, counseling services continue to be offered online, and scheduling will be done through Starfish. So if you notice that when you email your counselors, there will be a link embedded on their signature line. And if you click on that link, it will allow you to access Starfish and to be able to schedule an appointment with your counselor that way. All right. DevServe courses will continue to be offered online, and we've also hired a student aide that will be assisting us in our offices to answer phone calls and any questions that you have, similar to what you've been used to in the past when we were operating face-to-face. A student aide will be available to respond. So please feel free to reach out to us. We definitely want to encourage you to use your accommodations. They're there to help you be successful and to support you. If you have any questions or need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to our offices. You have our contact information, and we definitely want to support you during these trying times. All right. If there's not any questions.
Thanks, Dr. Morgan. We'll go to a Q&A a little bit later, but really good news to hear about the program being renewed and those additional positions to help students. Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
For our last program speaker today, I want to turn to an update for our student activities. And for this, we'll invite Vanessa Leva, our senior program specialist, to give us some additional information. Vanessa?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Buckley. Okay, so we have quite a bit going on. A couple of things I wanted to mention is that this Thursday, we are going to be having our final club rush of the semester. So if any students are interested in possibly joining a club, either, the few weeks that are left or joining next semester, this is a good opportunity. And that's going to be at 1 o'clock during our college hour. And then Next week, we are joining the other campuses in an open mic talent show. We had one a couple of weeks ago and it was pretty successful. So we're going to be having another one. And that'll be next Thursday in the evening. It's at 6 o'clock via Zoom. So if anybody's interested and want to participate, please let us know. I'll put my contact info in the chat in a minute. If not, you guys are welcome to join us and just watch. We're going to be participating in Reedley's Holiday Lane Reverse Parade on November 28th. So if are there any students out there that'd like to help us out and be a part of that, please definitely contact me. And then let's see, we have the week before finals, we're going to be having a week of different events that are going to be hosted by a couple of clubs. It's our Stress Less week. Of course, this time all of our events will be virtual, so just be on the lookout for those. And a couple of pantry updates. We are, well, tomorrow, because it's a holiday, we won't be having our food distribution, but we will follow up following next week. We will continue our weekly food distributions. They will all be from 11 to 1 on Wednesdays. We're not going to be doing the afternoon distributions anymore because of the time change. And of course, we will still continue our regular pantry hours, which are Tuesday, Thursday, 10 to 2, and Fridays, 9 to 12. And anytime, if any of the students are not, you can't make it during the times that are posted, please contact our office and one of us will meet you there to make sure that you're able to get, some food. And let's see. We were allotted 100 holiday meals this season from the food bank. So we will be distributing these meals the week of Thanksgiving on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so we were only given 100 and we're going to give them to the first 100 students that come by. Besides the 100, we will also be doing our regular food distribution. So we will have additional boxes of food to give away if you don't make it and you're not able to get one of the meal boxes that are given to us from the food bank. And lastly, we started a coat drive, and that is happening right now. As soon as we get a few of those coats in, we are going to have them available at the pantry. So you can stop by and take a look at what we have and just take whatever you need. So again, I'll put my information in the chat, but you're also welcome. We encourage you to follow our social media pages. And we also have a remind so that we can just send you, just constant information about any events that are coming up or anything we haven't mentioned. I think that's it for now.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thank you very much for the important work you do with the Tiger Pantry and Clyde's Closet. Again, you're going to be the target of our Giving Tuesday campaign this year, and we're going to try to expand services and provide a much better environment for our students to enjoy, to receive these services. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Stephen Couture, let's open it up for questions.
Yeah, sounds good, Dr. Buckley. So students, if you have any questions, please just drop them in the chat or just raise your hand using the raise hand feature. This is a great time to ask, the faculty, the administration, President Buckley, any questions that are just pressing on your mind. And I just want to start off, Dr. Buckley, and all the administration and staff that are on this call, just thank you so much, for even hosting these town halls, these student town halls, because this is a great resource for students. It's very informative. It helps us as we, tread this murky water that is the transition to online learning, right? No one was really prepped for this going into it. And now we've been here for a couple months and it's still, it's still like getting a curveball. You really never know what you're going to get from week to week. So, having these town halls has been really great. It's been a way to stay connected with the lifeline of Reedley College. So I just want to thank you all for that. And keeping the students informed. So students, if you have any questions, please drop them down. And as I said, or just raise your hand. I had a couple questions that I came in and I was like, they're not going to have an answer for these ones. And you've already addressed them. I was going to ask about, the possibility of maybe even being able to have events on campus starting next semester. And, Mr. Van Dam already clarified that for me. I was going to talk about the funding for the $100 or $100 million emergency grants, and that's already been addressed. So, I mean, you're already covering a lot of what what is on the minds of students. So I see one hand up in the chat. So Eric Rosas, Eric, if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute your mic and ask away.
Okay, hello. I have a question for, I believe it's Dr. Morgan, the one that's
Hey, Eric.
in charge of the DSPNS office.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. So I have a question. So for those of us who aren't familiar with starfish, I noticed that the other day when I met with my DSPNS counselor that there's not a link on our college portal page to get to starfish. So I was wondering, how do we get to starfish?
Okay. I think Samara posted in the chat an answer to that. And I'm trying to go back through here. Students can also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I believe she posted a link, Dr. Morgan.
Yeah, I see it right here. So Eric, there's a link here in the chat that you can utilize in order to get to the portal. And if you need any further assistance, Danielle Jensen, I believe, is your counselor. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So she can also assist you and direct you to this link or assist you in any other way. Okay.
Okay then.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
All right.
And then I also had another question.
Please.
It has to do with the DSPNS services. So for the spring semester, I noticed that you were saying that there are going to be like remote counseling through Zoom again. Will the assistive technology section of the DSPNS office be opened or no? In terms of like for like to put books onto students' computers.
Ricardo Cuevas is able to do that for students remotely. So you would simply need to connect with him or through your counselor, and they can assist you with that. But yes, that can be done for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then thank you.
All right. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. Thank you for your questions, Eric.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, those are some great questions, Eric. And I think he brought up a great point. I think when we go into the My Portal, we have 4 listed options, right? When we sign in, we have our web advisor, our email, Canvas, and I believe one more, but Starfish isn't an option. And I don't know if that's something that we might be able to look into to adding that in there, so that way it's streamlined into getting into the Starfish app.
Even it's not in the apps catalog.
It's not.
It's not.
I don't know if it's just what, when you first sign in, I think what Eric was saying is once you sign in, those are the 4 that just pop up in the apps catalog. So I see Samara said we need to put the Starfish app in the student portal. It's on the district's list to be added.
Okay.
So I know that will help streamline the process. We're transitioning a lot of things into Starfish, and we would really love to see that being added, so that way students are, it's a little bit more streamline of the process to get students in there and get them more knowledgeable on that platform.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Stephen. That has been something on our list we've been asking district about for quite some time, and we will continue to advocate and push for that.
Yeah, Melanie?
Did we talk about making sure that we get all of the faculty to do their adoptions to help students be able to? So one of the things we're working on that we heard from students, because not all of our faculty have done their book adoptions yet for the spring semester. So we are going to be working with faculty to make sure that we get that adoption information into
Follett,
and so that way it populates in WebAdvisor. And that way students can be better informed when they go to register for classes what the cost of the class will be, because we've heard that students are concerned because when they go to register, they don't know what the cost of the class is going to be, so they're kind of holding off registering. So we just want to make sure that we are working on that to get that information out to students.
Absolutely. Thanks for that reminder, Melanie. That was important.
Yeah, thank you. I see another discussion going on in the chat about teacher evaluations. And I thank Mr. Van Dam for answering those questions. I know some of the students are asking, you know, how can we evaluate our teachers on a more regular basis? That's something that we've even called for within the Student Senate throughout the state, is, you know, having more frequent evaluations. And I'm wondering if any work's been done with the Academic Senate to see that happen. I've always said, I've amassed about 115 units at Reedley College, and I finally did my second evaluation this semester, which is pretty crazy. You know,
Sorry to hear that, Stephen. We would
So-
be more frequent. Just to clarify something, you know, in higher education, we actually have two bodies within which our faculty work. One is the Academic Senate that really is responsible principally for creating courses and programs. But then when you talk about working conditions, which is really the assignment of load, the evaluation of faculty work, all of that is actually part of the union. So in general, there's a couple of different organizations in the state of California that govern faculty in higher education. The American Federation of Teachers, or AFT, is one of those organizations that most of our faculty belong to. So unfortunately, when you start talking about evaluation instruments and frequency of evaluation, it actually becomes a union negotiation. It's something that, as president, I can take to our human resources unit and actually have our vice chancellor, Juliana Mosier, put that on as a sun-shining topic for the next time we open negotiations on the contract. But as you may imagine, anytime you talk about contract negotiations, it can be a somewhat drawn-out event that takes time. So be assured, I've heard this. I will continue to communicate this to our district office and specifically to human resources to put this on the table as it's referred to.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Van Dam, I saw you unmute. Was there something you wanted to add?
I think Dr. Buckley covered it very well. I did put in the evaluation intervals, and now some faculty choose to solicit feedback more often, but again, it's a contract issue, and so it's not something. It's something that's negotiated, not something that we can require.
I just take it one step further to say that if we could get union approval for an unofficial survey as opposed to evaluation, that might go a little faster and a little more easy in the negotiation environment. But please be assured, we'll be discussing.
Sounds great. Yeah, I could see it as mutually beneficial for students to see that their voice is being heard, and also beneficial for teachers to see areas of improvement, areas of growth, and also just, you know, kudos for what they're doing correctly. So really look forward to those conversations that you will have.
Okay.
I guess my next question then would be for, I see Mr. DeFore has his hand raised. Mr. DeFore, you are next.
I don't mean to keep beating the horse, but the evaluation thing I'm concerned about is we're trying to help the students feel heard. Also, I understand these teachers get tenured. So what happens is this teacher gets a tenured and they're not a nice person. They don't do a good job. And so what happens is it gets around the students stop taking that instructor. So I just feel like with all the work that the school is doing to include the racial stuff and the biggest thing is the students don't get heard. So I just really think this is an area where I can't think of an easier way, but the union's protecting bad teachers. So I don't know if this needs to be on the radar of maybe making them tenure harder to get, or of some way where they're accountable, because there's some students that have some legit concerns, and then a lot of times you find out that it's just not a nice person in general. So that's my last 2 cents. It's just more, I feel like all the work especially that everyone on this call has done with making the college a better environment. A lot of times there's some people that kind of work against you guys. So that's my last 2 cents. I apologize, but I kind of feel strongly that I worry that students won't take classes or they'll just go to other campuses. And I love Greeley, so I want them to keep as many. So that's all I gotta say.
Well, John, I appreciate your comments, and please never apologize for offering those comments. That's what these town halls are for, is to hear everyone's opinion and to get their feedback as well, so that we can actually continue to build a better college and a better system of education. I can honestly say there is one other option for students that feel that they're not experiencing an optimal learning environment. And maybe I should take that a step farther and say, for someone who feels that they are not receiving appropriate attention, appropriate guidance, appropriate feedback, appropriate anything in this case, there is a grievance process. And I think Renee is probably best suited to summarize that grievance process for us.
Well, yeah, and I think the first thing you would want to do is definitely go to the department chair of that area and dean and work through that process. I think that's very, very important, because they can be able to kind of talk with you and work through maybe some ways that feedback can get back to that instructor. I think that's the first step and the first process to go that way. The other step is if you feel that you want to file a formal complaint or grievance, there is that process as well, and you have that right to do so. And we'll go through that process. And I will put the link to that in the chat once I'm done. And so you can file that process, and we take those concerns seriously, and we investigate that, and we talk to the appropriate managers, individuals, to get your voices heard and try to come to some resolution to the concern.
Those sound all great. I guess I'm just worried about the quiet kids that,
yeah,
they get this franchise and there are only like a handful of kids that will actually go and do that process. So what happens is the kid sitting in class, he'll either drop it or he or she will drop it and then pass the word on. And it's just one of those things where everyone starts avoiding that teacher. So it's more, I'm guessing that the silent person, if there's a way for them, the one that isn't boisterous or out there in everyone's face to complain, I just kind of worry about the quiet ones, that's all.
So John, I could offer you that this college is beginning to look at data far more seriously. And we can look at the rate that students drop in given classes and that sort of thing. Not that we're trying to police work done, but certainly when someone stands out against the normal statistical variance of students' retention, persistence, and success, that's going to be raised as a question during our program review process. It's what happens in what we call the peer review process of our academic programs and our student services programs as well. So believe me, we are looking at it as best we can statistically as well. All right,
that's
Steve,
great.
Any other questions?
Well, I had two for you real quick that I didn't get answered. One would be, I guess for Dr. Morgan on the DSP&S program, is the process for signing up for services still the same, or is it more streamlined? I've been hearing a lot more from students that say, this whole transition to online learning has been more taxing on them. They feel like they need more time to take their tests, different things like that. How can they go about getting services through the DSP&S program?
Getting services that are existing or going through the intake process and going through AIM well, if they have an existing counselor and they reach out to that counselor and let them know that they're having some issues and some barriers, they will definitely support them and give them what they need in order to be successful. If it's more time on the test, if they're having problem accessing a particular accommodation, issues with their instructor, we can definitely come alongside them and support them. If they're not getting anywhere and they don't feel like they're being heard, please, students, reach out to me and I will definitely support you and make sure that you get what you need. We know this is a difficult climate, especially a difficult transition for our students. And so we're definitely trying to make sure that we come alongside you as much as possible to support you, to make sure that you're successful. And we are definitely willing and available to do that. So any specific issues or needs that you have individually, because we do know that needs for our students are individual, and that we definitely want to make sure that we're taking care of you specifically in a way that will help you be successful. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
Absolutely.
And then Dr. Buckley, for you, as far as our DEI work on our campus, our diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know, a vast majority of our students on our campus are students of color. You know, we have Hispanic students and you know, African-American students. And for us, you know, hearing what the Trump administration put out a few weeks ago about the DEI work that is on our campus being anti-American, and that if you want to keep receiving federal funding, that you need to halt your DEI work. I just want to hear from you as the president of this campus, what our commitment is to DEI work, and how we're going to continue the DEI work on our campus to make sure our students, you know, feel included in this campus culture and so on.
Thank you for that question, Stephen. For those that know me, they know that my belief, formed over 32 years of service, is that we are part of the California Community College system as employees for a reason. We believe in the mission, that we are the one system of open access, and frankly, the vehicle for both social and economic change for people in our communities. We all believe that very much if we've served in this system for any length of time at all. As to the specifics of the DEI work, I would like to point to the fact that back when the CARES funding was initially delivered from federal sources, the Department of Education attempted to put restrictions on the distribution of those funds. Specifically, Betsy DeVos, who is not someone that many of us hold in very high regard. She specifically wrote the additional language that restricted DACA students from receiving funding. And this district and all the presidents therein contributed to a legal action that basically prevented that restriction from taking effect legally. We are committed as a district, I am committed as president, and we are committed as a college to making certain that none of what you heard the Trump administration voice will ever come to pass. And I think this recent election that was just decided on Saturday will hopefully reinforce that. The issue for me is that we have, as you're well aware, requested in the College Council the submission of input to our equity committee and to our DEI committee, our task force, I should say. And we recently accepted a resolution from the Academic Senate, as well as the Classified Senate, that spelled out specific action steps that will help us continue to work on Reedley College and its governance process and its structure to help remove barriers, not only for students, but actually for employees as well, so that we are a welcoming institution for all, that anyone coming here feels that they are part of this college and can connect with the people and resources of this college without fear, without any concern whatever. I would simply say that the plan that you helped craft actually at the statewide level is also under consideration to help create that action plan and to incorporate into our equity plan over time. But I made the statement very clearly 2 months ago that I wanted to have a very distinct plan of action for this college to follow during this academic year to help remove barriers and to help address these issues and make certain that what we've seen happen socially across the country does not happen here in Reedley and specifically at this college. Further, I would simply say that this is not something that you address once. This is something that has to be a core belief of the college, a core institutional tenet, something that we continue to address on an annual basis and try and make progress on. And to that effect, one of the first things we did across the district, all 4 colleges have actually joined the, and I can never remember the entire name because it's a complicated title, but it's the Leadership Alliance for Equity, which is sponsored through the University of Southern California. Sean Harper is the facilitator of this group, and every month we're sending 5 employees for participation in these discussions and learning opportunities, and they bring back specific information. In fact, our contact person for that is Renee Craig Marius. Renee, would you like to talk a little bit about that program and what we've participated in so far and what we will be participating in this month?
Yeah. So, I think I hear an echo. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we're embarking on our 3rd e-convening on this. The first one was focused on creating welcoming and inclusive classroom for students of color. The second one was on understanding and addressing implicit bias. And this one this month is focused on understanding and addressing anti-Black racism. And so they're very important topics. And to Stephen, your point, in another venue we've talked about as well, professional development for our faculty and staff and administration. This is really important work. And so what we want folks to do is when they go to these convenings, they learn lots of different resources and talk to other campuses, and they learn really kind of the understanding and the historical context by which our educational systems have been built, right? And where these things and the structures that are continuing to perpetuate barriers for our students, right? And for others of color. And so they learn these things and learn strategies to come back to the college and help others in learning those strategies and taking action steps. So after each of the meetings, we've had debriefs, and I've been working with Dr. Darlene Murray on this as well, to find ways to integrate this work into the already good work that the Equity Plan has outlined, but also what Classified Senate has outlined, what Academic Senate has outlined, and what the Statewide Student Senate has outlined. And we've really tried to encourage and ensure that we have both faculty and staff attend. And I can tell you the folks that some of them are on the call now have attended, have found it really impactful for them and enlightening and eye-opening. So we want to take that and begin to enhance and build upon the action steps we're going to be outlining very soon. I know Dr. Murray has done some crosswalks of all of the resolutions to look at some really key actions we can take now. And so those are being drafted to provide to Dr. Buckley. But again, that's something that is going on all year. In the spring, we will also be engaging in the Equity Institute, which is a group of 20 leaders on campus, ranging from faculty, staff leaders, and administrators to go through a pretty rigorous 8-week professional development program on these very topics. And so we're really committed to this in terms of professional development and helping people work through this really hard stuff that's important stuff, but we have to come together and work through it together and learn together and understand that we're all on this journey, but we have to, once we know better, right, we need to do better. And so that's where we need to focus on and how we want to try to make it a more inclusive, welcoming place for students and all of our employees.
And if I may, I want to thank Renee for all of her work on this and the rest of our team that have been involved in it. But I also want to emphasize the fact that this is not easy work. This is very hard work that takes time because we are literally changing culture. And there are well-meaning people at this college that firmly believe, based upon their life experiences, that there is no problem. And part of what our job is to use data and use information to help change.
Did he just freeze?
I think he froze.
Rose.
So too.
Did freeze.
He's probably logging back on.
Well, that's too bad because his sermon was just getting good.
Yeah,
He was tuning up, boy. I felt it.
I felt it too. Good thought right there.
I think he's trying to come back, join in.
All right. Well, maybe we should take up an offering until he gets back. Or Stephen, you want to sing